in your life. I'm your host, CJ Metcalfe. Today, we're going to talk about something that many of us have wondered about, like maybe you had an idea for a little business that you wanted to do and you thought, oh, maybe it's not worthy, or I don't have the funding, or I don't know how to do it. Rather, it may be a craft or a supply company, maybe a little restaurant, a deli, anything like that. Well, our guest today offers courses on micro enterprises, and that's what that's called, small businesses, usually under 5 employees or smaller. So at this time, I would like to bring in my guest, Dorothy Browning of Goodwill MicroEnterprises. Welcome to the program, Dorothy.
Thank you, CJ.
Yes. Now, Goodwill MicroEnterprises, this is a division of Goodwill Industries, correct?
It is, and most people don't realize Goodwill Industries work almost, I would want to say, like a franchise model for the nonprofit world. So our Goodwill covers Collier, Lee, Charlotte, Henry, and Glades. And so we provide our services within that area. Although we do have some individuals from Northport that take our classes because they're essentially right on the border of Charlotte County. And many of them are starting businesses that will go from Northport to Charlotte County.
Well, let's say that I have an idea for a candy making supply, sell candy making supplies. And I had that idea. It's been a lifelong dream. And here I am at this stage in my life, and I reach out to you. Tell me what's going to transpire from there.
Yeah, and you would not be an untypical protocol. There's a lot of individuals over the age of 55 starting businesses because they retire and they get bored and they're like, well, let me follow my passion. So we do have individuals from all range from, usually they're in their 20s on up, but we have a wide range of individuals that take our class. So in this class, CJ, you phrased it correctly. It's about exploring an idea that's a passion and seeing, does it make sense once I put some research behind it? Because there's a lot of things that sound so cool up here, but once you research them, you go, it just doesn't work for me, either financially or, my favorite example is if you don't want to work on the weekends, don't be a realtor, right? Because you're not going to be successful. So starting a business is a blend between, is my idea feasible, and then is it feasible for me? So the Goodwill class is a time commitment because it takes time to make a good decision like that. So our classes run for 6 weeks, 2 nights a week, usually Monday and Thursday evenings, because there's homework outside of class you need to have time to tackle. And we really methodically take people through building a skinny version of a business plan. We call it a feasibility plan because that's what we want them to get to. Is my idea feasible? And we consider it a victory when people go, what the heck was I thinking? As well as a victory when they go into business.
So, okay, I contact you. I register for the classes. Who is eligible to take those classes? I mean, is there any qualifications or requirements?
Yeah, there are. The number one qualification is you have to have a business idea. You can't go through the class and just say, I want to see what it involves to open a business, because you're working on your plan from day one. So if you don't have an idea, you don't have anything to work on and you don't get the value of the class. So we do a brief interview with people to make sure that they have that idea vetted out. I'll tell you a funny story. We had one woman who had retired, came down here, got bored, said, I want to think about business. I said, you have to have an idea. And she went, okay, how about a movie theater? And I said, bad idea in Florida. She said, okay, well, how about popcorn? I really love popcorn. So I said, if you're committed to that idea, you can take it. She took the class, fell in love with the idea, and she now owns 2 popcorn stores. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So if I contact you,
mm-hmm.
I give my idea to you, and you say, yes, that sounds like a good idea, which would be selling my candy supplies.
Right.
What is the next step? I enroll, and okay, the classes are going to start in a time frame that I'm committed to.
Right.
So what is the next step then?
Yeah. So, and I'll put a real life example. Our next class in Charlotte County will start on October 11th. So you got a little bit of time. So we have a short application people have to fill out. We are grant funded. And so we track what kind of people we serve. You know, Goodwill's mission is to serve people with disadvantages and disabilities. So that's always the people we really want to serve. And that means in our case, people that don't have a lot of funding to start their class, because they're really going to have to figure out how to get a business going without being able to go to the bank or, you know, rich relatives to get money to start it. So we're always emphasizing, yes, you're our kind of person. If you don't have a lot of money, we still think you have a phenomenal ability to get into business. You may just have to think of it differently than you did when you thought about, you know, the Shark Tank kind of people. So short application, a couple of other forms, and then you're in. So we're not super picky. We normally have somewhere around 15 people in our classes, and normally we have 15 to 18 people want to sign up. So pretty good availability. People shouldn't worry about that. And then we have a curriculum we use that was developed by the Kauffman Foundation out of Kansas City. So at the first night of class, you get a nice workbook. And I think the really fun thing about our class is that we have business coaches in the class. So it's not a lecture class. Any given class will bring in a subject matter expert, which might be a banker, a lawyer, an accountant, business insurance, all of those key people you need as a business owner on your team. And they'll do a 30-minute presentation with time for you to ask them questions. We do some work out of the workbook because it makes it very easy to put that plan on paper and get your thoughts organized. But then for about 40 minutes of the class, you break out with a business coach in a much smaller group. And they really help you say, from what you heard tonight, from what we're working on in the book, what does that mean for you and your business? So I always do call them the secret sauce, because they're wonderful people to begin with. And they really help the participants hone in on their idea and shape it up into a plan.
Is there a fee, you know, when I sign up? And
yeah, there can be.
Is there any fee?
Yeah, there can be. We don't want cost to ever be a barrier to people taking the class. So if you fall in a low to very low income category, you can take the class for free. In addition, we have a partnership with the Rotary Club in Punta Gorda that gives us some money to do scholarships for people. So if you're way out of income, yeah, we may ask you to pay a whopping $80 for the whole course. But that's only if you're way out of income.
Well, that is intriguing. And so then when a person finishes your course, and let's say I want to have a retail shop where I'm going to sell these supplies, since I have taken your course, and if I need to go to a lender to get just a little bit of startup money, do they look positively at the fact that I have taken the initiative to take your course?
If it's a bank, not necessarily so, which if you think about it, a bank lends your money to other people. So if you don't have any kind of a track record as a business owner, it's very difficult, even for people with a good income, to get a bank loan for their first business. You have to kind of build up some credibility, because I frankly don't want to have my money go to you if you don't have a good plan and have no track record. So it's very difficult to get money from a traditional bank loan to truly start a business. Once you've been in a business a couple of years, then there's an SBA program which can really help you out. But so initial funding, we really talk a lot about that, CJ, because we want people to develop a plan where they need the least money they possibly can to successfully start their business. Never want to see our a funding source, because we always tell people we're a training program, not a funding source. But we are fortunate to have some relationships with a couple of other nonprofits, and we can do very small amounts of funding for some of our graduates who complete their feasibility plan, right? And the numbers prove out that they have a good chance for success. So, and when I'm talking small amounts of money, I'm talking $1,000 to $1,500. But if you think about it, that might get you into business. So let's say your idea was a candy store. Maybe you start online, and that gets you your website built out. It gets you, your PayPal set up. It gets you all of your LLC you want to need because you want to protect yourself. So $1,000 can be fairly meaningful for the type of individuals that generally take our class. Because to your point at the beginning, you are right. A micro enterprise is 5 or fewer employees, and a lot of times just one employee. And one of the things we really preach is don't get big until you need to. So one of the advice to you might be, why don't you start selling online? Why don't you go to the flea master, sell there for a bit, check it out, get your act down, get together, and then take on the overhead. Because once you take on overhead, you have to figure out a lot more, right? In terms of a business, because every month you've got rent to pay, you've got utilities, all those things. Whereas if you're working out of your home, a lot of times you can start up, have that cushion, that comfort, get some base customers, and then you're much more willing to ready to go into a retail space.
Well, if I go ahead and get involved, I'm all committed, I've taken the courses and everything, what access does Goodwill offer? I mean, can you steer me in the direction of maybe getting business cards or the cheapest website? People, have you got those type of connections that you make available to your customers?
We do. I mean, we don't say, oh, go to this person all the time, because that would not quite be fair, right? Because that might be our favorite person. But over the years, we've been doing this course for 10 and a half years now, CJ. So we have built a lot of connections in the community. So we always try to steer people back to people in the community that we trust. So we're members of the chamber. So we know a lot of people through that. The subject matter experts we bring in, you can really see, are they good people as they do the talks. Anybody who comes out at night and does a talk for us is a good person in my book right away, right? Because they're taking part of their night away. So yeah, we have a lot of resources like that we can offer our graduates. And I do want to mention, we really partner well with SCORE and the Small Business Development Center in your area, because we do see ourselves as that little incubator. But once our people graduate, our program is a mighty program of 2. So we don't have the resources or the expertise to really say, let me help you manage your business as you grow. But I'll tell you, SCORE and the SBDC sure do. So it's a great way to go to them and say, look, I've already got my plan on paper. Here's what I need, some real mentoring in this area. And they both have subject matter experts that can then say, let me help you build out that marketing plan. You've got a good start, but let's really build it out. So we really talk about that in our class. And at the end of the class, we really encourage people to start working with either SCORE or the SBTC or both, because there's different expertise within their ranks.
This is just wonderful. It's wonderful information to somebody who, has always wanted to do a small business just as a hobby or as a livelihood for that matter. And as I said, where do you go? Where do you start? And it sounds like the Goodwill MicroEnterprises would be the solution to many of the questions that I would have. Tell me some of the success stories that you know of that have come out of there, some of the ventures that the students have gone out on. Yeah.
Well, you and I were talking before we got online here. And so let's just start with that. One year we did a lot of outreach with the veterans program in Charlotte County. And one of the individuals that went through it had some skills in the past with repairing appliances. And so he went through class to figure out his business model for that, and actually started that business up. Him and his coach, Steve, had a great relationship. Steve did some extra assistance around it. And you just told me, because we've lost track of him, I think his number changed, that he's still in business and still doing well. So that's an example right there. We have we don't have a lot of retail in Charlotte County, which, like I said, I don't encourage people, but Teddy Inc. is one of our graduates, and she started out doing engraving and was geared more towards like business to business. And then COVID happened. So that wasn't working so well because nobody was giving out awards and things like that. But she pivoted. She's a great pivoter. She pivoted to doing embroidery and targeted healthcare workers who really needed some more clothing during the pandemic, right? So she has survived. She says, I'm not thriving, but I'm surviving. And she's always thinking of what can I do next. So Brenda Anderson's great. She's right there on Tamiami Trail in Port Charlotte. Other people, I just got a article the other day at Gulf Shore Business. One of our graduates who was from actually a virtual class we did this year because we had to pivot to virtual when COVID Well, not that it's not bad now, but when we didn't know how bad it was. And so Shannon does a bakery. She got a full-time job. She's really cautious about, I need to build up my business so I can quit and maintain, my lifestyle. But she's really, really doing a great job in LaBelle. And she wrote some really nice stuff on the back because they had a whole article about her, but it says, whether it's somebody already in business thinking about starting a business or just has an idea of what they'd like to do, it's the perfect place to get started to help you build a base. The class covers many entrepreneurial aspects such as financial, legal, marketing, and more. Anything you can think of, they cover in the classes. And we kind of feel that way. If we don't cover it, we give people a reference about where they can go to get more in-depth information on it. So.
This is the wonderful. What she's a girl after my own heart.
She makes some wonderful artisan breads. She brought some to graduation. We always love it when our graduates have food ideas because they always bring food to graduation. So.
Oh, I like that too. So now you talked about the counties that you cover, but you hold classes in Northport. Did I hear?
No, we don't hold them in Northport, but we allow people to participate from Northport. We just made sure the Goodwill up there didn't have a similar program. And truly, this program is very unique for a Goodwill. There's only 2 other Goodwills we know of in America that do anything this tied into entrepreneurship. So we encourage people from Northport to apply. We normally hold our classes at Charlotte Technical College, but because we weren't sure whether we were going to be online or in person, they kind of filled up. So we're going to try holding the next class at our Goodwill out off of Kings Highway. We have a great community resource center there. It was a Publix before, so there's a lot of room in it. And so they dedicated a lot of it to a community resource center, which is where people during the day can walk in and get help with everything from finding a job, resume building, English as second language classes, a lot of support there. If you just need a free computer to use, if you need to fax, there's still some fax machines out there. It's a place where the community can come and access resources they may not have access to otherwise. But it's got a great training room. So we're going to do our next class at that facility.
Okay. And then now, do you just offer one class at a time, or do you have classes going on in various areas at the same time?
In various areas at the same time. We do 10 classes a year, and we do 2 in Charlotte County specifically, one in the spring and one in the fall. And then our other classes are between Collier and Lee. Some people from Henry drive over. That was kind of cool during COVID. We were able to service people from Henry and Glades more than we could otherwise. And so we've decided we're going to at least do one class virtually each year so we can reach out to some of those areas that are harder. And the other thing that was really neat about that class, we had several individuals with physical disabilities that it would have been very difficult for them to get to the class or to sit through a 3-hour class, and they could take the online program. So we're really committed to targeting those areas and individuals that couldn't sit through a class in that online class.
Oh, that is just, wow. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. So the one up in Port Charlotte on Peachland, mm-hmm. and then let's start moving south. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything in Punta Gorda?
We don't because Punta Gorda is, I know you guys don't like to go over the bridge, but it is just a bridge road. So people from Punta Gorda can easily access that Port Charlotte class. And actually, this is kind of a cool story. We had someone from Punta Gorda start our Cape Coral class that we started about 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, we're going to have one coming up in Charlotte. She said, yeah, but, we just want to get it going now. And so her husband came with her the first class just to make sure the drive was okay and we were okay. They got so excited in that first class. They said, we want to take the Port Charlotte one because he couldn't get to the class on time every night because of his job. So she dropped out of that one, but she signed up for the Port Charlotte class. So her and her husband both can take. Now the other day she said, and our son might join us too. So kind of a cool story. So.
We have a question that's come in from a viewer. Are you considering a hybrid class both in person and virtual?
It's really hard to do because we have the subject matter experts that come in, which we could do on Zoom. But then about 40 minutes of that class is in the breakouts. It's not a sit there and listen class. It's an active class. Even when we're working out of the workbook, people are, we're calling on people. They're throwing out ideas. They're saying, what does that mean to me? So it's really hard. We thought about it, but we can't figure out how to make a hybrid in-person class work. Although we did just have someone get exposed in COVID, and so we went back to hybrid for two sessions, and then we'll go back in person. So we can do that kind of hybrid, but not one every night because it's just too much activity.
So coming up this fall, you have the one that's starting in Port Charlotte.
Mm-hmm. And that's October 11th.
October 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then do you have one in Cape Coral that's going to be starting up?
We are halfway through our Cape Coral class now, and we just started a Fort Myers class now. So I think our longest trip, we had one time we had a person from Naples drive to Port Charlotte for the class because he had that much urgency in starting his business. But generally we'll have those two classes in Port Charlotte. And if it's too much for you, start with SCORE, start with SBDC. You may get all you need from them. Some people, do both. They say, I like the individual expertise, but I want to go through the whole class process. So we don't see it as a us or them. We see it as a big pie, and everybody picks the kind of pie that works for them.
Go ahead and explain SCORE. Some of our listeners may not understand what that is.
Service Corps of Retired Executives is a group of volunteers sponsored by the SBA, and they've mostly been either business owners or they've been CEOs, CFOs, high-level people, and they volunteer their time to do one-on-one consultation with you in their area of expertise. And the Small Business Development Center is a group of paid consultants that, again, an SBA program, but they will do one-on-one consultations with you as well. And both are phenomenal organizations.
Okay, I have one question, and this always comes into play when you commit to a 6-week course and you have all good intentions, mm-hmm. but family shows up on your doorstep and they've got you bogged down and you got to miss a class. Mm-hmm. How easy is it to make that class up?
I am a phenomenal study buddy. So if someone misses a class, we really say, hey, give me a call. Let's go over what you missed and get them back on track. And again, that workbook is really easy to help you stay on track. And the other nice thing about being virtual for a while, we've now got a bunch of recorded subject matter excerpts. So even though you couldn't see the person that was at your class, we can say, here's a really good presentation from a previous class so they don't miss out on that content as well.
Dorothy, we have brought up, we're winding things up here, but we have brought up on the screen, and if anybody wants to look into this, Dorothy, www.goodwillmicroenterprises.org.
Goodwill SWFL for Southwest Florida .org, and then /microenterprise. So www.goodwillswfl.org/microenterprise.
This sounds wonderful. Dorothy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this information, because this could make a big difference in somebody's life.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
This is CJ Metcalfe signing off until next week.